Let's go.
Welcome back to another video, everybody. This is your host, Ahdontron, coming back with a video review. Today, we have a special guest, my friend Shannon. She came to join us, and we're reviewing the movie My Neighbor Totoro. Shannon, let's do a quick little intro for you, by all means.
I'm Shannon. I'm his friend. I don't really watch anime that often and get mortified on some of the things that I see, so it's a fresh perspective.
This is true. I don't always show her the stuff that is like the kindest of things to see. But as usual, well, this time it's going to be a little bit different because we're going to have her with us. But as usual, if you don't want any spoilers and you don't want anything to do with a recap, check the details below and jump ahead to the spoiler-free review. Other than that, let's get started. So, and at any point, if I miss anything, Shannon, just feel free to interrupt me.
Oh, I have thoughts. I have lots.
So, just real quick. So, the movie starts off where you get introduced to your family. You have these two little girls. They're very adorable. One's like around 5 years old, and the other, I don't believe they ever mention her age, but she's definitely in elementary school, I would say, at least.
She's got to be between 10 to 12, I think, because she's old enough that the dad gives responsibility to her to watching the kids, and not middle school, so maybe 10 to 11. Around there.
That's fair. And the father, that's the other character that we're gonna see, and they move into a new house. It looks like it's about ready for decommission, but they're gonna you catch on early on. They're gonna repair the house. It's in the country, and we find out later in the story that he's actually a professor at a school for archaeology.
Yeah, basically Indiana Jones, but
yes,
not adventurous.
Now, the interesting thing is when they move into this new home in the country, we meet two other characters. A little boy who looks like he's not in a wealthy family at all, quite the opposite, and his grandmother, who is like the nicest neighbor that you would ever want. She was like dusting, cleaning, helping them move in.
She showed up, and she was like, "Here are these gremlins." And guess what? If they like you, they go away. If not, never explained.
Well, the people don't even know about that yet. So that was the thing. Like the little kids, like early on moving into this house, they see these little dust spirits that I thought were roaches at first, and they're like, no, these are dust sprites. And they're like spirits, and she's like, I used to see them as kids too. And literally, these kids, when they meet these dust sprites, they're running away. They're running away like little roaches would, but they leave soot everywhere. So you see these kids, like all of a sudden, they turn around and they're covered in dirt and soot.
I mean, and that's the credit to the animation, and especially in an '80s film. But that's typical Studio Ghibli, is that you're gonna get good animated quality with this film. Like you see the details with the soot on the feet, soot in the hands, the way that the wind affects the trees and everything like that too. Like it's very, very beautiful, and the animation is top tier with this.
Yes, and now that leads into some other things. So we see those little spirits. They go in and out and they disappear. You interact with the father, who's like, I've always wanted a haunted house. He's like playing things off that would normally bother people, but it's him and the two kids, and you find out that their mother is in the hospital and not nearby. They moved to the country, and he's basically raising these kids. So there are small things that would normally freak a kid out, and he'll tell them things like, oh, I always wanted that, or if it scares you, just laugh it away. And he's playing them off. Shannon thought that maybe he's not the best father of the year.
I mean, with that point that you bring up, it actually speaks to the overall message as a whole. Because is it okay for me to share that part of it yet, or?
Yeah, we're in the recap stage, so you can give spoilers.
We find out the mom's sick, but when you look at the technology, the state, this is a period piece, so it looks like the mom has cancer, and the one scene that gives it away is when she has a cold, she has to stay at the hospital for a week longer. Anyone that knows, anyone dealing with chemo or any of that, any type of cold, anything, it's extreme danger for them to be away. And after the bomb with Hiroshima, it was very bad to live in Japan. It makes me think of this book I read when I was a kid about this girl that would make crane swans at the hospital trying to make it to 100, and she wasn't allowed to see anybody. I didn't fully get it then. If I read that book now as an adult, it would still hit me the same way that this movie hit me with that. So yes, the dad is definitely not father a year in a lot of ways, but it makes sense on how he's talking about dealing with fear, shrug it off, because it's not like you can tell a 4-year-old and a 10-year-old your mom might die.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. But it's interesting because before we get to that, like, they don't really focus on that in the story. So, like, there's small points that get to that stage that really just focuses on, like, their adjustment and their getting used to the environment. And these two girls aren't, we shouldn't sugarcoat them. They're not, like, babied. They're very self-reliant and tomboyish. Like, the 5-year-old is, like, willing to play with tadpoles, chase around creatures.
Well, because the dad's never around. The dad's not there, so the grandma will come over and watch them. And then like she'll run to the school completely unwatched. She's 4.
Well, okay, so going into that, so there was several points here. The older girl has to go to school, so it leaves the little girl, the 5-year-old, with the father. The 5-year-old meets our title character, Totoro, after chasing these two little spirits into the woods. And Totoro is this like cat, rabbit, raccoon hybrid that's like about like 10 foot tall and doesn't really talk, but she is like super fluffy, and she interacts with him and disappears, and the character disappears, and they just write it off as maybe a guardian spirit of the nearby forest. And then as time goes on, you see like Shannon said, the youngest is extremely attached to her older sister, and at one point like needs to go to school with them, and the school is like super nice by letting the younger sister partake in class even though she's not supposed to be. And on that same day, coming back home, they are trying to wait for their father, but the father misses the bus, and they're waiting in the rain. Totoro shows back up, sitting next to them in the rain, or standing.
Oh, that's such a good point. Oh my God. That's such a good point, because it's not protecting them. You think that the spirits are there to protect them, but what if the spirits are there as comfort? As just comfort. Because in the movie, the rules of the spirits are they only show themselves when they want to be seen. And it's always been in scenes when it's the kids are about to break down, or they're alone, or all that, and then they're the spirits. That's pretty.
Is it like a change of environment or change of thing? So like when they, so like we mentioned before, they moved into a new environment. They moved into their home. The little girl was left by herself in the at the home where the sister was away. Now the father's not there, and they're waiting out in the rain by themselves. And then on that scene, which is adorable, all these scenes are very adorable in their own. Like Totoro's just standing there, and they hand him an umbrella that was their father's umbrella, and he gets so excited, and he like gives them a little gift, and then gets whisked away by a cat bus before the father shows up, which
very detailed cat bus.
Very detailed, and somewhat it like is cute but horrifying at the same time, which I'll get into why I think that's horrifying. And the gift is like these acorns, which doesn't seem like much, but like it's about growth, because like the kids start making a garden because they want to make their own forest, and then they actually have a dream that Totoro comes in and helps the garden grow, and like next morning they sprout up. So there's always these little stages in their life that Totoro is actually being involved in. And
he's a better dad. He's just a better dad.
Totoro is always seen with these two other ones that are smaller than himself, but they're the same character design. So that's why Shannon keeps saying he's a better dad, because they're clearly two little spirits that are his responsibility.
There's 3 spirits, a little baby white one, a little bigger blue one, and then him. He is clearly a better dad. He knows where his kids are at all times.
This is
Okay.
true. Well, they always attach themselves to him.
And then this dad's like, I want to live in a haunted house. Blah 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 blah. Hey guy, is oh my god. The only credit I give him right now is him not like mom's dying, guys. He's been a little bit gracious with that one.
Yeah, I mean, well, that gets to the serious point of the film, because there is one definitely a serious point that Shannon touched on, that the mom is super sick, and she was supposed to be coming home, and the kids get a telegram, because remember, this is like a period piece movie. Not everybody had cell phones back in the day, so they got a telegram and saying that she can't come home, she got sick, please call.
And later she goes like, I just had a cold, which tells you.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, that's what the father said, because he had to call the hospital because they had to call the father.
No, she said that too when she goes like, I didn't see the big deal. I just had a cold when she's talking to him.
Yeah, but that was later. Kids didn't know this at first.
Yeah.
Basically, the kids had to call the father. They had to go to a neighbor's house, call the father. Father's like, I'll call you back. And the older sister is the one that's able to communicate with the father. Well, the younger sister's been searching all around town with this husk of corn that she got from Granny's garden. Because Granny's like, if you eat my food, you're going to get better. It doesn't matter what it is.
Granny might be a spirit. I'm just throwing it out there.
Granny's closer to a witch than a spirit, but she's like a nice one. But that leads to a confrontation between the two sisters, because the older sister is still worried and had the same reaction that Shannon was having about, like, if it's just a cold, why are they going to keep you at home? You know? Why are they going to keep you at the hospital? And the little sister's like, I just want to see my mommy. And the older sister tells her, like, what, you want mom to die? Like, it just flats out tells her like that. And they run off from each other. And that leads to the little sister running away to try to find the mom and then getting lost.
We have to talk about the shoe scene.
We're going to.
Oh.
I promise you. So everybody starts searching for this little girl. The older sister's freaking out. And then she runs like miles away trying to find her sister. And then she's running back and she finds the little neighbor boy, who tells her, we're still searching. We have the entire village searching, but they found a sandal in the pond. And at that point, Shannon and I were like, well, Shannon was anticipating it because she knows I watch some dark stuff.
You do. You watch some. It was tough because I'm like, so music's a big theme in this. So the music will indicate the theme or what's going on. So if it's happy and light, you see happy things. If it's dark and like sad, or like intense, which is what was going on there, and I'm like, there's only 12 minutes left.
This is true.
Ah!
and the tone got very dark, very somber. You see the village people like with sticks starting to, like they're trying to comb the pond and they're searching, and our main character is running up, and there's Granny with this sandal, and she goes, is this hers? And for a moment we're just sitting there like, please say no.
We wanted it to say no, and thank God that they did. But then everyone's like, okay, let's stop searching. And then Adana are like, there's a dead kid somewhere in that.
Yes, that was another thing. So everybody was like, it's okay. It's not hers. Let's move on. And I was like, there's a dead body in that pond.
They're all cool with it.
And as long as it's not this little girl, no one cares. This is not cool. But
they're all like,
it's a kid's film. It's a kid's film. And that's when they lead into the older sister runs in and tracks down Totoro to ask for guidance to find her little sister.
There are at least 3 scenes in this film that make it very questionable for being children.
That is one of them for sure.
That is definitely one of them.
We'll touch on that. Totoro summons the cat bus again, so that it could take her to her little sister. And for a visual aid, the cat bus is like this giant cat that has a body shaped like a bus, where it has the windows and the door magically opens, but it has like these 8 legs that are like cat-like legs. And then when it goes inside, it's all fluffy fur inside. But like you see the character sit in it, is like everything. Imagine a bus full of shag rug, seats, floor, walls, everything. And then when you sit in the on the seat, it's, instead of being a metal seat covered in shag, is a waterbed covered in shag. It sounds cool, but it also the feeling I imagine is very disturbing.
Well, you're inside of a cat.
This is true too.
And I'm sorry, but cats are. If anyone owns a cat or has someone that has a cat in their life, cats are weird, and their bellies are like waterbeds.
That's probably why it's like that. The cat somehow has like this sixth sense because it's able to track down this little sister super quick, and it's able to run past people without people noticing. So they find the little sister, which is great. She's alive, and then it takes them to the hospital to see that the mom is okay. And that's where we get the clarification that the mom really is telling the truth. She just got a little bit sick, and that's why the hospital decided to hold on to her. And then to wrap up the story nice and clean, they show that in the credits that the family is reunited, and they show clips of the family living their life in the town and the moms in the house with them. So it makes a nice little happy ending in that regards. Now, us being adults, we read more into it, and that's why we're like, this is a darker story than it leads off to be.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
100%. I've never watched this movie again. This is my first time. This movie came out in 1988. Shannon's never watched this movie, but we're familiar with the image of the character because it's popular, and it's Studio Ghibli.
She looks like the Kiki's delivery service without the red bow tie.
Exactly. And then also the cat-like character that is Totoro.
Oh, yeah, the second I saw it, I'm like, that's the rabbit thing. Like, everyone knows the rabbit thing because you see people have it on their backpacks, and it's pretty much everywhere.
Exactly. And I've talked to people that said this is one of their favorite movies of all time for anime with Studio Ghibli. I'm like, I have never seen it. I have no idea why. I can see it. Like, if I was a kid watching this movie, I would have enjoyed it. It has long moments. Oh, okay. So let's do this. Let's get out all the spoiler discussion. So that handles a little bit of a recap there that we normally would do. But let's talk about some of those scenes that we really enjoyed. Okay, so as Shannon said, we theorized that the mom was really maybe dealing with some an illness that was more serious than what was ever let on. They never say why she was ill, but it was she was always in the hospital. You don't end up in the hospital for something that's low key. Granted, it's a period piece, so technology then wasn't as good as it is now, but it doesn't add up for her to be there. And so it made sense that it's kind of set a little bit after World War II. So if she's dealing with some kind of fallout and contamination or just being sick in general in a more serious way, because cancer was around back then. Doesn't have to be from the bomb. Cancer was around.
Post in the comments too if we're wrong. Be like, hey guys, quick Wikipedia search says it's this. Would love feedback there.
Yeah, no, if they clarify that, then by all means, let us know. But yeah, so we theorized it was going to be a more serious illness. The more mature scenes, other than that we were talking about, was 3. That was one of them. What was your other 2, Shannon?
He's naked in the bathtub with both his daughters, and he has his legs spread open, and they have the 4-year-old covering his junk.
So, okay, so that one to me wasn't that mature of a scene. It was just like a family taking a bath together. I see it in anime all the time. And at the end credits, they do the same thing, but with the mom. But again, that's a great example of, and this is not a negative fact. It is not a negative thing. It's just cultural differences. And hey, I mean, that was the thing. The social baths, they have a thing called public baths that people go to the bath and they take baths together.
I was not expecting it at all. I was a little surprised. I was like,
she was very surprised. That's where she first said, "This is not Father of the Year." And
there's a lot of points for that.
What was the second scene for you?
I think it's the scene that you're going to talk about with the cat. We know the gender of the cat.
I caught the gender of the cat when the cat was looking for the little girl, because the cat, of course, having so many paws and hands, climbs like a spider monkey. Yes. And from one light pole, it jumps down and decides to do like a flying squirrel maneuver and just spread its paws out, and you can see everything underneath. And I tell Shannon, I'm like, oh, that's a boy.
Yep.
And she goes, oh, you saw the junk? I'm like, I saw the balls. I said, that's still okay to show. And she's like, oh, wow.
Family movie.
I mean, it's just like these two, circumferences that just right there at the bottom, right there, just happen to be there. You don't see it anywhere else, and not that I caught.
Mhm. Family. This is the reason why this is on HBO. If it was on Disney, that would not be there.
They'll trim it out on Disney Plus.
It was literally trimmed out. I'm pretty sure the bath scene would have been trimmed out too.
It's just attention to detail. It is. Okay, now that I got that out of my system, is there any other spoiler content that you want to talk about before we do non-spoiler review?
I think that's the pretty much the spoilers that I wanted to get into because I don't. We pretty much went over the whole plot.
Yeah, that's what I do in my recap.
Yeah.
So in the review portion that I do, it's more technical now. I'll give an example like how I feel about this, and you can tell me what you feel. So as far as an anime film goes, I was actually very impressed with it, and going in the fact that it's came out 30 plus years ago.
1980, 2020, 40.
I was 84. I'm 36.
Yeah, you're getting there, buddy.
I'm not in my 40s yet. don't take this away from me.
It's
32 years ago. This movie came out 32 years ago. So for a movie that came out in 1988, I think you can clearly tell they touched up the animation to make it more HD so you can stream it. But it still held up. The motion of the animation still was very smooth. The pictures and quality, everything looked good there. I love the backgrounds. The nature backgrounds, great. Studio Ghibli definitely has a formula with how they do their character design. And we did talk about that. You can actually, if you want to know more about our character design discussion, we actually briefly talked about that in the recap, so you can rewind if you skipped here. But they have a system. If you watch one of their Studio Ghibli films, you've probably seen how they're going to design the characters here. Now, as far as the audio, I thought that was really good too. Yep. We watched it in English. The words seem to sync up very well. I don't know if this is like the third rendition of the dialogue, but
it's gotta be though, because Elle Fanning, she's new. She's not. Elle Fanning is like not our age. Just point that out there.
I'm not gonna deny that, but I would say it definitely synced up well, and the music was a very good tone. It didn't take me away from the movie. It just added to the tone of the movie. It did have a lot of parts that felt like they kind of drawn out more. So technically, the movie was only like 29 minutes long, and they could have easily brought it down to 110 minutes or 115. But they probably made a conscious decision to let the story play out and not just cut to the good scenes. Yep. So that's at least the feeling I got when I watched this film in that regards. What about you, Shannon? How was the style, the audio? How was that experience?
So I guess I'm going to start with first what I look at when I judge movies, right? So a good movie is really based on the story that it's talking about, the message that it's trying to tell its audience. So it has the beginning, middle, and end. Now, most animes that I've watched usually have exciting, mystical, magical elements to tell that story. With this story in particular, they have spirits and ghosts, but there's no big bad, no villain, all this. It's really the emotional beats of what these characters are going through. So it's more somber. And because of that, you need to have those drawn out moments because of how the story is being told. If they cut out those scenes and made it shorter, I don't think it would have been as well as it was, because you needed to feel the emotions. The 4-year-old acts exactly like a standard 4-year-old. Like I could on several moments really see like my niece, who is 5, act the exact same way when she's there was I'm not gonna spoil a part, but like with 4-year-olds, they're good for like 2 or 3 hours before they get so emotionally overwhelmed that they cry. So when it comes to like the human aspect, like understanding human dynamics, how they connect, grief, it's an excellent story, and the music score ties to that as well. So you hear it. If the movie wants you to feel whimsical, the music's gonna tell you that. The music gives you the emotion that connects to what you're gonna see. Is there a lot of cultural differences that I don't understand? Yes. As you can tell, I am very Boston Irish. So it's very Boondock Saints is like what my typical family dynamic would be. Um, you laugh, but I'm not kidding.
It's like every Christmas, the Boondock Saints prayer comes up. Family gathering dinner.
It's not a movie that I would watch again over and over again, right? But it's definitely a movie that made me feel it got what it needed to get across, and I wouldn't give it a solid 5, but like it's between a 4 and 5 for me.
Okay, you know what? And that's a generous review. Like between a 4 and a 5. For me, I'm between a 3 and a 4. I'm gonna lean towards I'm a little bit more critical, and I'm sorry for this to the world, but because I know there are diehard fans for this movie. You know what? I am gonna lean towards a. Actually, I'm teetering. I'm gonna go back to a 4. I'm gonna say a 4, and this is the reason why. I am a big anime fan, but as I said, I've never watched this film. Going into it and knowing that all my friends that loved it were watching it as kids, and they enjoyed it, and then given the test of time, like I came back and watched it, and I'm like, nah, I felt hesitant. I felt worried that I may not like this, and I actually enjoyed the film. So
it's storytelling. That's what it is. It's a very different format for storytelling when you focus on that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not everybody's cup of tea. That's the tricky thing.
Exactly. And that's a hard thing to do, especially after time has passed. Storytelling doesn't always hold. The animation style doesn't always hold, and this has so far, I would say, stood the test of time.
Yes, 100%. That this is definitely, you could watch at any point, any year, and people would relate to what it's trying to say.
Exactly. Now I agree with Shannon. I don't feel the drive that I'm going to be like, I'm going to watch this yearly, and I'm going to watch this routinely, and this is my tradition. I know people that have this tradition, and they watch this movie often. I am.
Do they want to be sad? Do they just want to be sad? Like,
no, this has a happy ending. It's just the undertones, but they hold on to the happy endings portion.
Do they want hugs? Like, is that...
Yes, they do want hugs.
Okay.
They want the fluff. They want the fluffy.
Anyone who wants to watch this movie over and over again, I just need to give them a hug, because they need hugs in their life, that's all.
That's fair. And you know what? That's fair. I think this is a good movie that a kid could watch. They don't get the undertones that are there, and they will still enjoy it, and they'll love it. And there might be that they'll see a couple moments, and they'll be like, so fluffy, kind of moments. Yeah. But the movie is not cheesy overtly, and like Shannon said, when it wants you to know that it's a fun moment, it will definitely clearly let you know it's a fun moment. But an adult can watch this. You can watch this with your kids and still enjoy the film and actually get a little bit more to the story than your kids would probably get.
I think my kids, when I have kids, would enjoy my facial reactions to some of the scenes in that movie.
That's fair. That's fair. So I'm comfortable with saying that this is a 4 out of 5 NerdTots on this too. But a 5 to me would be like pristine. I don't see any flaws, and I would be willing to watch this again and show this to anybody without question that this is going to be a movie that's going to get you hooked. This is a movie to watch with a friend that they may be on the fence, but it won't convert them to be like an anime fan. Is what I say. No,
it definitely wouldn't convert anyone being an anime fan, but it's definitely like, I would see this, if this was made today and it had never been seen before, it would definitely be an Oscar nominated film.
Oh yeah. It would definitely tailor to the needs of the critics and the all the community out there.
Exactly.
To love to do the reviews. Mm-hmm.
And because of that, you can't give it a low review because of that fact alone. But it's
I could.
Okay. That's how your show works. All right.
It's like, I gotta be honest. I watched one anime and I reviewed it, Appleseed, like the original OVA. I gave it a lower review, and I know that's a revered anime by a lot of in the community. And I rewatched it, and I did not like it as much as I used to.
And so that it doesn't hold the stand the test of time. This one I would still enjoy it, but I'm not going to go out of my way to watch it. I'm not going to be like, hey, kids. No, I will when they piss me off.
All right. So one final question for you, being the guest. If you could rewatch this movie, but if they offered to remake it, would you watch it as a remake or would you rather rewatch it as the original?
Original.
Original?
I wouldn't. The only reason I would watch this as a remake is if it was not a movie and it was made into a television series. It was made into a mini series to explore more of the characters and that world. That'd be the only reason I would tune in for that. If it was to remake the movie, no.
Oh, so like the Adventures of Totoro.
Exactly. Totoro. I would watch that because
they do have their own theme song. Yeah. It's a classic. Just repeat the name. That's all it is.
Totoro. So, yeah, I mean, you technically could like if they wanted to, since it's on HBO Max, and they were like, "Hey, this is going to be a new series," and I'm like, "Oh man, yeah!" I would watch that. I would hop on that like immediately, and we do episode recaps. But no, if they were going to remake it, be like, "Get out of here, nerds."
That's fair. Well, I think that we covered it. We had our recap. We did a little bit of review. Had some laughs. Shannon, did you have a good time?
I did. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, because I'm not sure if I'm really good at reviews, so we'll find out.
Well, so far, I don't know if I'm good at reviews neither, but I'm doing this, so.
I feel bad for you though sometimes, because like we'll do a review and I'll send you a Google link going, "Here's my notes."
That's okay. I'm always open. Speaking of which, I am always open to criticism. If you guys have constructive feedback, please let me know. I mean, I can't improve without you guys letting us know. And that goes for not only my videos, but any of our other videos on NerdTots. Put it in the comments section below. If it's something that we can do and act on it, we're definitely going to do. If it's something that is financially not there yet, we're going to work on getting there.
If you want to see facial expressions while he watches an anime on a live stream, put it in the comments.
Well, that might be something I would be willing to do, like live reactions to it.
Oh yeah.
But on that note, for you guys that do watch my videos and anybody that's new, if you like what I'm doing, of course, hit like, hit subscribe if you are new. But again, I say this on almost every video. Thank you so very much. I do appreciate your time and all your attention. Thank you, Shannon, so much for joining me and participating on this view with me. It's always good to be hanging out with you. You're a very good friend of mine. Is there anything for yourself that you want to plug for yourself?
There's a cat sleeping behind me.
There is a cat, but he does not look like the cat bus. He's like a clap-on cat.
You're not happy.
The only other news I will give for the rest of the world is pay attention to our channel. We are trying to do new things. We got new stuff coming in for D&D. We're going to be trying to do more guests on some of our other formats. We did some on some streams. I may get some more guests on for anime reviews, like Shannon. And then we're going to have some guests for our D&D. We are working on trying to develop a merch line. So we may have that on our merch store coming up. And other than that, continue watching anime, expand your minds, just be excellent. Laters.
Have fun with it too, because you can be as good with anime as Don or clueless like me, and it's still fun.
Let's go.